Hello everyone, this is Sage live from 𝐊𝐚𝐥𝐤𝐧𝐞 studio and you're watching The Early Trades, a show where we share with you a glimpse of the Australian share market opening trade scenario, along with the global and domestic drivers triggering the market's momentum. And in our first segment of the show today, we'll look at how the early morning trades panned out, taking cues from Wall Street's action overnight. Then in the second segment, we'll look at the prominent newsmakers grabbing the headlines during the early trading hours. And this will bring us to the third and final segment of the show, where we will discuss the movement seen in cryptocurrency, crude oil, gold and the metals indices. And the Australian shares opened lower on Wednesday following a disappointing night on Wall Street, while the heavyweight miners weighed on the benchmark as copper prices hit a one-month low. A modest rise in gold and oil prices is likely to benefit the local stocks and cap the losses. The ASX 200 opened the day lower, dropping 0.14%, setting a new 50-day low after closing 0.35% higher in the previous session. And 7 of 11 sectors were lower over the last week, along with the ASX 200 index. And although little changed, consumer staples was today's best performing sector. A few companies to pay their latest dividends to the shareholders on Wednesday include Challenger, Insurance Australia Group, Sandfire Resources, Sonic Healthcare and Suncorp Group. The top gainers of the day on the ASX during the opening trade were Washington H. Soul Pattinson and Company, Lifestyle Communities, PointsBet, Clinuvel Pharmaceuticals and Harvey Norman. Whereas the bottom performing stocks were Tabcorp, QBE Insurance, Premier Investments, Adbri and Reece. Looking for some more prominent stocks, Westpac tumbled 0.9% after announcing the sale of its Pacific business to Kina has been terminated. And Commonwealth Bank fell 0.7%. NAB dropped 1.2% and ANZ dipped 0.5% in the opening trade today. The big miners extended their decline. BHP dropped 0.3%, Rio Tinto fell 0.7%, and Fortescue lost 0.9%. QBE Insurance tumbled 2.8%, Tabcorp fell 2.7% and Chalice Mining dropped as well 2.6% and Premier Investments dipped 2.5%. Looking at the performance from the US market, the Dow Jones fell 0.15%, the S&P 500 dropped 0.1% and the Nasdaq rose 0.2%. Meanwhile, the global stock market stabilised on Tuesday and oil prices regained ground, a day after heavy selling of risk assets. And now let's take a look at the latest news on the US House votes on suspending debt limits. The House voted Tuesday night to fund the government into early December, suspend the federal debt limit and provide disaster and refugee aid, setting up a high-stakes showdown with Republicans who opposed the package despite the prospects of a looming fiscal crisis. And the Democratic-led House passed the measure by a vote of 220 to 211, strictly along party lines. The bill now goes to the Senate, where it is likely to falter because of overwhelming Republican opposition. And the federal government faces a shutdown if funding stops on September 30th, the end of the fiscal year, midnight next Thursday. And moving on now to the second segment of the show, let us look at the prominent ASX shares under the spotlight during the early trades. The first company on our list today is a global asset management company. Janice Henderson Group, CDI, has decided to launch its flagship environmental, social and governance fund in Australia to meet the growing demand for sustainable investing. And the share price of Janice Henderson was trading lower during the opening trade at $55 Australian 75 cents. And now it's time for a small break, but please stay with us.
Tune in to stay updated while on the move.
We will tell you where the crypto craze has reached,
Where the property market is headed next.
what the world is doing to become more environmentally friendly.
Apart from tracking the daily market charter.
Be on top of the latest news and announcements
With 𝐊𝐴N TV.
Welcome back, this is Sage. You're watching the opening trade commentary in the Early Trades show by 𝐊𝐼𝐴 TV. And moving on now to the next company, the Australian stock transfer company Computershare's founder Chris Morris will step down as the director. And the management announced that John Nendick has been appointed to the board as an independent non-executive director. The share price of Computershare was trading lower during the opening trade at $16.46. And meanwhile, the next company is Kidman Securities, and this is a diversified financial services company which has terminated the agreement to acquire Westpac Pacific Business. Earlier, Kidman was ready to buy Westpac Fiji and Westpac's 89.91% stake in Westpac Bank's PNG. The share price of Kidman Securities was trading lower during the opening trade at 84 cents Australian. And the next company on our list is Zip. The Australian buy now, pay later giant has decided to enter the Indian market, and the company agreed to acquire a minority stake in Indian BNPL company Zest Money for $50 million. And Zip believes India could become one of its largest markets by financial year 2026. The share price of 𝐬𝐴𝐴𝐧𝐞 was trading higher during the opening trade at $6 Australian 34 cents. And the last company on our list is a drug development company, Emira. Emira reported that its first batch of MDMA analogue libraries demonstrates excellent purity and stability at room temperatures. And further testing is now being finalised for the remainder of the library. And the share price of Emira is trading flat during the opening trade at 22 cents Australian. And we've now reached the third and final segment of the show, and hopefully you're enjoying our report so far. Let's now discuss about the movements seen in the cryptocurrency, bond yields, crude oil, gold and metals indices. Beginning with the crude oil prices that inched higher as tighter US supplies boosted prices. And WTI crude settled up 0.4% per barrel, and Brent settled up 0.6% on the day. And energy stocks such as Woodside Petroleum were trading higher during the early trade, whereas Santos edged lower during the early trade on Wednesday. Let's now take a look at the futures and commodities space. Gold gained on Tuesday as unease over China's Evergrande insolvency spurred safe haven buying, and the spot gold added 0.5% an ounce. ASX listed gold stocks such as Northern Star Resources were seen in the green during the early trade, whereas Newcrest Mining was also trading higher during the opening trade on Wednesday. And hopefully your day's going well so far, but that is all for now on the Early Morning Trades show by 𝐊𝐼𝐴 TV. Please keep watching for more of the latest from the economy and diverse themes and sectors. Sage signing off.